Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Selig, I've got really, I'll try to condense this down to succinct questions as much as possible. You mentioned there were specific circumstances that led to CMS becoming, as you said, more hands-on. What were those circumstances and what specific actions did CMS take?
I don't recall mentioning CMS being more hands-on. Our staff are on conference calls with CMS and other states at least weekly. So from the start, CMS has been very involved. It's mostly their money that we're spending. So that they've been involved from the start.
Well, I do want to correct you. One thing I've been pretty to the point on since I've been in this legislative body is CMS doesn't have any money. It's the taxpayer.
That's a good point. I think they consider since they're the ones spending it out of their funds, they consider their money. Yes,
again,
you're right.
I like to keep that in focus.
That's a good point.
To this point, Curum's cost us now more than 3 times what ACES cost us. We've got about $140 million, give or take, in that. Where has Curum been successfully deployed? I know they've failed in Minnesota and Maryland. I don't know anywhere that I can find where they've actually been successful. Why are we continuing to attempt to implement a program that has no demonstrated record of success, and who's responsible for making that decision?
Yes, sir, and IBM may want to speak to this too when they come up. My understanding is the Curum product has worked well on the traditional Medicaid and on the SNAP programs. They did not, when the federal government put in this new modified adjusted gross income requirement for eligibility, what people refer to as MAGI, modified adjusted gross income, no one had a product that did that at the time because it was a new requirement. My understanding is there were 2 products out there, Curum and one other, I can't recall who the other vendor was, and the evaluation team felt like that Meridian and the Curum product was the better product. To get to your question, I don't know that the MAGI portion of Curum has worked well anywhere yet. And there are some states, I think, that have moved away from it. One of the things that the Gartner group is going to look at, the new contract that the governor asked DIS to put in place and this body approved, is to look at, should we move away from Curum? But the question is, if you move away from it, move away to what? You have to have an eligibility system. So if there's a better product out there, frankly, it wouldn't be too expensive to move to at this point. It makes more sense. I want whatever product makes the most sense at the best cost. Thus far, no one has, at least to me, brought a product that says this is clearly better and more cost effective. But I think that's what the Gartner group, that's what they're charged with coming back to DIS and saying is, and the government and everybody else, is there a better approach for the state here?
I guess, you know, as I look at $140 million in this so far without a clear sense of where it's going to end, the thing that really becomes disturbing is what are the maintenance costs going to be, and how can you contain those? And I know IBM is going to come up and comment, and hopefully they can directly address that when they get up here. One more question, Mr. Chair, and I'll wrap this up. Cognosante has been involved with you all in doing some review and looking at this, and I know they made some specific recommendations last year.
Right.
Have those recommendations been implemented, and how much have we paid Cognosante so far?
Yes, so the changes that I described, and obviously it was a summary of them, were largely driven by that initial Cognosante review and further reviews that we've done, and input from the governor's office and the governor himself and DIS. So yes, we have, I mean, probably their biggest recommendation was to get a project management office set up, make it clear, you know, who was responsible for this project, and then start working on the procurement and tightening up some of these contracts. So we have implemented that. I'll have to look at how much we spent for Cognosante. Let's see.
Feel free to get back to me on that. I don't want to talk schedule. You mentioned project management and your internal project management.
Yes, sir.
Who is directly responsible for managing these projects within DHS?
It is now Tim Lampy, Colonel Tim Lampy, who, as I described, has background in this area from the Air Force. So he's the direct lead, the state employee who does it, and he has Cognosante technical staff to support that, because obviously a person can't stand on top of a project this big.
Well, I know he's not been with you that long. Who was responsible prior to him assuming that role?
Prior to that, we had a governance body led by Dick Wyatt, who runs our Office of System and Technology. What Mr. Wyatt does is he manages our systems in general, and really was taking this on kind of as another task, working with DIS and some of our other staff. And that's why I said that was just But we're asking too much of those people to manage a project of this size, in addition to just running the state's data systems.
And he owns a portion of Lavender and White, is that correct?
No, sir, he had that company, I think, 10 or more years ago. I don't think he has any involvement now. No, sir, he didn't have any involvement. Hasn't for years that I know of.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What a coincidence. He's not here.